know that you worked with Disney, and I think Disney is considered to be one of the best companies on sales and customer service. Forget sales, customer service. And if you've ever experienced anything of Disney, you know customer service is fantastic. So what are some tips that you can give to us about customer service in our business?
My big piece of advice and my takeaway from the company that I really talk about when I'm doing keynote addresses is removing the overwhelm of the customer service experience. And what I mean by that is it's very easy to get to a place where we believe, okay, I have to have this person on my team. I have to have this process in place. I have to have this gift ready. I have to have all these things as I look at my client pipeline to make sure that I am just exceeding and creating magic. And one of my biggest takeaways from working for the company was actually that you have what you need right within you. And sometimes what people are looking for most is whatever that is, because it's only yours. So it has a unique value proposition right off the bat. It often costs not very much and yet makes a big impact, because at the end of the day, people want to be seen, right? People want to be understood and seen. They want to know they matter, even in context of, sort of pipeline client experience, whatever that is, whether that's service-based or product-based. So I always encourage people, take your ideal client and your ideal product or service and write your pipeline down of what that looks like right now, what they can expect at every point in their journey with you. Mm-hmm. And then look at it. What are the parts that are really taking energy or money or other things? Like where's the drain suck, where when you look at that pipeline, there's a hole and water is just like pouring through it. Where's a piece where maybe you need to add a pipe in, right? Like where, oh gosh, I do great at the beginning, and then by the end, they kind of just, it falls off. That happens a lot. Mm-hmm. So really just assessing your pipeline and trying to bring your pieces to the table to say, what do I have that can kind of reorder what's happening here? Or how can I address the deficits or the things that just are not working great? Mm-hmm. Or maybe are working great on the client end, but gosh, on the back end, it's a lot to pull that off. Mm-hmm. I was just talking with a wedding pro today just about his inquiry process, because he's spending a ton of time on the phone. He wants a really customized experience for his clients. And that absolutely resonates with me. That was one of my things at Disney. When I hit the floor at the Bippity Boppity Boutique every morning at 7 a.m. to do little princess transformations all day, Laura, literally couldn't work a 12-hour shift just doing the same thing and saying the same story. I don't even know what that would have been like, but it wouldn't have worked for my personality. But I had to then create a script, if you will, for the castle and the surrounding elements of the boutique to try to kind of then talk to the kids in my chair and get to know who they were, and it just took a few questions to get to know what they liked, and you knew how old they were, so you kind of had a sense of what stories would play out well based on their age. And then I could pick and choose and use. And all day I felt like, no, today I talked to Ariana and Brandon and Keely. I didn't just go to work and do hair, and come home covered in glitter. And so I feel like it's that way in our business, right? Like we've got to do the hair and we've got to cover them in glitter. But if you value coming home feeling like you know a person's name, then you've got to have a system in place. And so anyway, this photographer that I was talking with today, he's like, I'm getting on the phone as soon as I get an inquiry, and I'm taking the time to create these beautiful custom PDFs, and I feel really great about what I'm offering. And then 2 days later, they book someone else. And it is just taking all of my time. Mm-hmm. And, we'll email a bit more today, but I basically said, why don't we reverse this? Why don't we make sure that when they're inquiring that you're asking the 5 critical questions mm-hmm. you need them to answer, so that you can send right off the bat a really custom PDF that shows that you recognize they've got 300 guests coming, or, that it's an out-of-state wedding and you've taken that into consideration, and you just put it all on the table. What are we afraid of? Like, if you believe in what you do and what you offer, then there should be no reason that you can't send that customized PDF with pricing, a beautiful link to a real wedding gallery, and then trust that if they want to reach out for a phone call, then they're likely going to book you because they have all the information they need, versus kind of stringing them along and releasing information as they go. And then mm-hmm. you've wasted your time. So I think, recognizing in that case, sometimes it's just the reorder of how we do things, and what makes our life easier and values our time, but also does that for our clients, is usually double thumbs up on the customer service side of things.
Yeah. Yeah. What great advice. I think like, you know, because I know with Disney and even Universal, they just already preempt issues and they fix it for you. So even before it could be a problem, it's not a problem anymore, but it's resolved and you're experiencing the solutions and it's just amazing. And I love how you know, created that timeline piece. And I'm actually going to practice it for my own business as well, because I think going through that process, you also realize these are the holes and how can I add another pipe to it? And I love that. That is so golden. And, you know, I love the way you actually explain things, because when we met initially, it was at the retreat and you had come and talked to us about the strength finders. And it was so life-changing for me. But tell me a little bit more about the strength finder and why it's so important for people to actually do these type of exercises in their business.
The strengths finder inventory is a talent-based inventory that was developed by Gallup. So a lot of times people are familiar with that company, and it was developed 30 years ago. So tons of research behind it. Millions of teams worldwide, from kids all the way through adulthood, have used this. And it's a way of looking at kind of 34 talents that all of us carry as humans. But then where are our top functional talents? Just when we look at how we naturally approach this world, what are they? And then where do they fall kind of organizationally within 4 domains? Executing, relationship building, influencing, and strategic thinking are kind of the 4 domains that these 34 talents organize themselves within. This was something that I got trained on when I was in the higher education world. So it's common that you see this used in colleges and high schools. It's really powerful. Anywhere where there's a group of people, it's powerful. So a lot of colleges have been adapting it. And as students come into the university, they all take it. They all engage in a course in their first year that uses it. And as you can imagine, that's really transformative. I certainly wish that I had had that as a college freshman.
Yeah.
And so I got trained extensively to teach it at the college level and to implement it in our university. And then again, the business is running alongside. And I realized, gosh, entrepreneurs need this. You know, the corporate world needs this. And I kind of was mixing my Disney in. And then, you know, as my life continued to evolve and my career continued to evolve, I don't necessarily specialize in like women entrepreneurs or, you know, but I do feel like there's a special conversation there, especially when you're a woman with a professional career at a business and you're a mom. There's just a lot of pieces at play. And what we know about the inventory is that life kind of pressure cooks our strengths in terms of what's showing up in our results. But the chances of moving something from 32 or 30 up to your top 10 is 1 in a million, basically what the research says, that they've studied. If you tell someone this is not your strongest talent area, you can certainly make them better at it, but they'll never achieve an outcome at the level of what happens when they're able to invest in a top talent area. And as entrepreneurs, we get to pick and choose more than anyone else. You know, we get to say, I'm outsourcing this, or I'm going to do this differently because I don't like this process or this piece of what I need to do here. And so I love helping people. Again, it's very much my theme of like reframing what you already have and not telling you need more or you know, I don't know. I think that's very much a narrative we believe, like, well, this isn't happening, so I need X, Y, or Z that I don't currently have. But a lot of times it's just a mindset shift of what if we approach this differently? And what if we used only your talents to look at this specific thing? And a lot of times what's happening is we're just doing something because that's how other people did it, or because we think it's what people expect, or we think it's what'll make the money. And so getting into a space of like, I'm going to do things from this place of talent because I know that that's my unique value proposition. I know I'm going to get a lot of energy out of it. And I know it's going to be the best quality product that I can produce.
You know, you're right, because we're always balancing, especially as moms. And I know you're constantly balancing. And we were talking about that earlier as well. You know, balancing between your travel, your business, motherhood, and then being a wife and managing your home. What are some of if you have any tips or advice on that?
I mean, I think for me, strengths really helped inform, and I talk about this a lot with clients. It helped me have language to talk about how I was going to approach those things instead of feeling like I had to fit into like a mold that someone had created for me. And that's hard, right? We don't like to talk about ourselves and how we want to do things or how we see things, especially as women, let alone saying like, this is going to be the best way to do this. I just feel like a lot of times we have more of like a meek and mild narrative that's given to us of like, be sacrificial and, you know, like, don't be the strongest personality in the room. And so strengths, I think, really helps with language. That's like, no, this is how I'm built and this is how I do approach things. And so how can we talk about, you know, this intersection of life and business in a way that helps with that. And if you're listening, the inventory is available to the public through Gallup. I do think it's difficult to process on your own. So it's challenging in that way. It's not something that usually I would recommend someone take and then read the materials they get you and try to make sense of. But I just do want people to know that it is available to the public, and there are books and things on different topics that help apply them. So yeah, for me, I mean, a big piece of my story is that my husband and I have been in each other's lives since we were 14. And so we're unique in that we have literally grown up together. We have walked a lot of life that people our age and stage have not walked. And I think it, you know, it just transforms your priorities as a family and how you support each other. He is a professional actor and a theater teacher. So he lives in the 9 to 5, but also very much has creative pursuits and always has. And so, yeah, when people look at my travel schedule, we have 2 little girls who are currently 4 and 1. And I'm on an airplane, you know, every 4 to 6 weeks for a period of days, and just on repeat into next year. That is the rhythm. And I have people all the time that are like, I don't know how you do it. Like, I don't know why you do it, you know? And again, when I come back to my strength areas, and Girja and I were chatting with this before the recording started, like, again, I started a business for people. I started a business with the hopes that my camera would bring me into the lives and experiences of people that I wouldn't get to meet otherwise. And that is still my core. And so to me, I was on a consult call last night with a couple, and they're in Philly and I'm in Kansas City, and their wedding's going to be in Florida. And I told them, you know, my motto is, I want to know and love your life and about where you are, and I want you to do the same for me. And then we'll meet up when we're supposed to meet up, like, you know, when your event is, or when you're, you know, that's kind of like my motto. And my clients really get on board with that. Like, they're also looking for the right person, and not just a person who lives in a certain place and offers a certain service. So with that, I think, you know, I limit what I do. I think about my weekend this weekend, and I have an extended family portrait session of like this really cool reunion post-COVID where baby cousins are meeting each other for the first time. And it's this like really special thing. And I have a wedding, and I have a strengths training for a team of 5 next Tuesday. And all those things for me can exist in a period of 5 days and have the time and space that they need. But I think that's because I'm really intentional with my time. Again, the strategic thinker in me is like, I'm highly organized in that way. And yet it allows me to be laid back because my personality has really chilled out.
Yeah.
So yeah, to anyone listening, I mean, I feel like just trusting your gut and giving yourself the space to say, like, this is the life that I want for myself and for my family, and this is the business that I want, and where are my supports, and how can I voice what this is going to look like, has been really empowering for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gosh, so much good advice coming out of there. So also, you know, before we wrap it up over here, I like to ask little fun questions. And so generally I love books. And so I always ask my guests, what's your favorite book? Or, you know, whether it's a business book, personal book, fiction, nonfiction.
My favorite author is Jodi Picoult. So like anything she's written, she wrote My Sister's Keeper, which I feel like people know because it's a movie, The Pact. Anyway, I mean, I just love her stuff. That if I could get lost in a book. I also have an odd affinity for anything that's like West Virginia midwife, like early 1900s. It's odd, but there's like a whole genre of things that are that, and then Amish stories. So don't look at my public library account, but that's like what I check out from there.
That is so funny, Amish story.
Oh yeah. That's been a whole thing for a long time. And my family, they're like just used to it now. They're like,
that
okay.
Is so funny. Oh my gosh. So for the listeners out there, how can they connect with you? How can they reach out and say hi?
Yeah, of course. And I would love that. So Instagram is a great spot. I try to just show up and be me, especially on stories. So at Laura Foote, Foote is my last name on Instagram, and same laurafoote.com, and then laura@laurafoote.com is my email. And if you email me, you will hear back from me. There is no like Wizard of Oz-ish happening over here. I'm not that cool. So whenever people reach out and want to chat more, you will absolutely get in touch with me, and I'd love that.
Wonderful. Well, I'll put everything in the show notes so
Great.
people can connect with you, and also your Amish books. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I have a whole list of suggestions. So if that tickles your fancy, definitely reach out because we should be friends.
Well, I've enjoyed so much talking to you today. I have learned so much, and the perspectives that you have offered have been unparalleled. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.